So our summit wrapped up about 2 weeks ago, and I've had time to go through and do my official debrief of the event. And I know that wrapping up a summit can bring all kinds of emotions, right? Like for some people, there is just like huge celebration. For some, there's that celebration along with the overwhelm of figuring out what to do with this like significantly larger, more engaged audience. For some people, there's very strong disappointment. These days, I tend to be kind of like in the middle of it all with a more detached feel to it in a way. Like, not that I don't feel excited or like excited and proud, or that I can't feel strong disappointment when things don't go well, but I always feel those things like with an undercurrent of being able to look at it logically, I guess. And I think this comes from experience running summits, but also from coaching as many clients as I do. Like, every day I am in Slack seeing a wide range of results and reactions to those results. And like, since I'm in the habit of being like, hold on, what do the numbers actually tell us? Like, it's easy for me to get into that mode for myself also. So when I'm looking at this summit we just ran, I could look at the number of registrations and feel extremely disappointed. I've actually only hosted 2 summits ever with a smaller number of registrations. Or I could look at our total revenue and see that we hit my revenue goal and I could be totally thrilled. But when I tell you that the numbers are the least exciting part about hosting a summit to me, other than the fact that, of course, my business needs to make money, like, I mean it. Those things are interesting, right? It's interesting that I had a low number of registrations. It is interesting that I still hit my revenue goal despite that. But instead, I go right into the mode of like, what do these things tell me? What can I uncover and dig up with this? And that's the goal of my summit debriefs. What went on during this event, and what do those things tell me? Now, that's not to say that if I had strong emotions, or if you have strong emotions after an event, that I think they're like unimportant or don't have a place here. Like, that's not true. We're allowed to feel emotions. But I will say that it's been really freeing for me, in a sense, to look at these things more analytically instead of internalizing the results and telling myself that I'm either successful or a failure because of them. Because that's silly, right? We know that that's silly when we're not in that place. But I want to go over what I look at when I debrief my summits. For those of you in Summit in a Box or the Launch with the Summit Accelerator, you have our tracking templates, you have our workbook to go through and facilitate your own debrief. Those of you in the Accelerator can book a one-on-one call with our team to debrief along with you. But I want to kind of give everyone an overview here. So first, all throughout the summit, I'm taking notes of things that stand out to me. And part of this is like from a teaching standpoint, like, oh, I want to remember to tell my clients this, but also for myself, like, I want to remember this next time. So I always start just a debrief Google Doc early on in the process, so I can always pull it up and add notes to it. For example, like, we note how many people attend each live call. Actually, we do that in Airtable, I guess, but whatever. If I have a thought I want to remember, I jot it down. So for example, one of the random thoughts I wrote down during this last summit was like, it can still be an amazing and fulfilling event, even if it's small. That should probably be my next video, right? It can still be an amazing and fulfilling event, even if it's small. Another note I wrote down is the panel is where it's at. That's all I wrote. I was just excited in there, writing something quick, closed the doc, went on to what I was doing, right? I wrote down loved speaker co-working, high engagement in challenge sessions, like just these little notes that I wanted to remember in the moment. So those things are getting added all throughout. And then we also track like registration, sales, conversion rates, and the number of people joining our community as we go. Each day we track those things throughout the registration period, so that at any point I can go in and get a quick glance at where things are sitting. But after is all said and done, like after all the carts close, that's when I do my official debrief, and I do start with the numbers there. I'm not going to list everything, but I'll kind of try to give you an idea of the categories we're looking at. So I look at how many were on the wait list, and then like dig down to some numbers there. How many of those converted into attendees and converted into sales? I look at similar things for registrations. How many people registered total, and how many of those people stuck around until the end of the summit, right? How many were still there? We break down how many registered through ads versus organic traffic. We calculate the conversion rates of all those things, and then I move into revenue. So we follow our stacked summit monetization strategy, of course, which I highly recommend because it's the only way we were able to hit our revenue goals during this event, even though it was smaller registration wise. And that is stacking together sponsorships, all access pass revenue, and a launch of our signature offer. The launch for us is the piece that brought in the majority of our revenue. We teach you how to do that in the Launch with the Summit Accelerator. But I started with the All Access Pass sales. So we looked at who joined each tier of our All Access Pass and at which price point they joined at, who bought after joining from a Facebook ad, what did order bump sales look like, calculate all those conversion rates. There's a whole lot of numbers going on. We also track like sponsorship revenue, but also the results we got for our sponsors. So this is what they gave us. What did we give them in return? I track sales of our offers, of course, the conversion rate into our courses, the rate of people who took the upsell, the total revenue, where those people engaged throughout the event. So which pieces of our event had an impact on their journey. And then, of course, after tallying all that up, I add in expenses to see where things sat from a profit standpoint. There are other numbers I like to look at, but for the sake of trying to keep a video under 10 minutes, I'll keep it at this for now. So from there, I look at those numbers and I don't stop. I'm like, oh, this was successful or this was a failure because of this. No, I pull takeaways from those things. So for example, our registration page conversion rate and overall numbers told me that the audience for this event, which was a total experiment, didn't hit the mark. Okay. They didn't understand, people in the audience didn't understand that they were in it. Our speakers and affiliates didn't get great results from promoting. And of course, I was hoping it would be a big hit, but because I haven't seen anyone position something for B2C business owners before, but people didn't understand it or resonate with it. Now I know that. And this is like a little bit of an example, like exhibit A of why I always say in my webinars and trainings not to base your summit decisions and strategy on what you see someone else doing from the outside, because you don't know how it works. I think it's very safe for me to say that anyone who would have seen this event would have just assumed the numbers were huge because it was me running it, right? And we made it look pretty and everything. I'm so interested to see how many events and offers for B2C business owners pop up from people who follow me, assume that because I did it, it was a huge hit, and then go ahead and do it. And sorry, you can never assume something was a success from what you see on the outside. So don't look at someone else's summit, try to copy it, and then be surprised if it doesn't work. You just don't know. But yeah, I could just focus on that, or I can look at a lot of other things. And also just sharing this, I think other people would come at it from a standpoint of just focusing on the fact that I hit my revenue goals, right? I should be hush-hush about the fact that our registration numbers were smaller, so I look like more of an authority. That's not how I roll, but that's how other people do. So even if you see other people hosting a summit, acting like it went super well, you still don't actually know. I am very honest and straightforward with things, but not everyone is. So anyways, I need to focus. I don't know how we got there. The registration numbers told me that the audience and the way we presented that audience wasn't right for the sake of getting registrations, right? But then when I look at the numbers for our offer launch, that tells me that the people who did come, who did resonate with in that audience, they were perfect. And our launch strategies were spot on because the conversion rates into our Summit in a Box program were higher than I expected. So it's really interesting to look at all the numbers from different angles and see what you can pull from those things. Doing this also inspired me to decide what our next summit's going to be about. And I'm already scheming on that because of this debrief that I did. And then of course, I'm looking at attendee engagement and feedback, my own feelings about things, and drawing conclusions from that as well. Examples or questions from our attendees were very minimal throughout. So I know everything we did to make sure the event was clear and easy to navigate, all those things worked. We had amazing feedback on several of our live sessions. So I know we would like to do those things again. There were some things with our community that didn't work as well as I'd hoped. So I know that we won't do those things again or have some shifts to make with that. And I think it's so important for you to do this kind of reflection after a summit and get all of these things written down as soon as you can, because I will not remember any of this by the time our next one rolls around, but I will have this to refer to. So I hope this was helpful to hear despite some tangents. I hope it gives you some guidance on how you can look at your numbers and experience, summit experience as well, and debrief after your own summit without just trying to say, okay, here's the numbers. Did I succeed or fail? It's about so much more than that. And I'm going to talk about that in our next video. So if you have any requests for upcoming videos, let me know. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.